Hello and welcome to Eavesdropping at the Movies. I'm Mike.
And I'm José.
And we've just been to see Presents, which I was really looking forward to. It's Steven Soderbergh directed, written by David Koepp, who's written so many movies. Stars Lucy Liu. It's a ghost story told from the perspective of the ghost. This was the hook, and it sounded so interesting, and the trailers made it look so interesting as well. This floating camera you see moving around, and it wasn't quite clear how is it going to be scary? What's it going to be? But all the trailers were saying, I just looked up the trailer just to get the pull quotes. It terrifies you, then leaves your heart on the floor from bloody disgusting. Will leave you gasping for air, punch drunk critics. And one of the scariest movies you'll see this year, Awards Watch.
Really?
Not that I know who Awards Watch are, but and the reason I looked those up is because having seen the film, I was not scared.
I wasn't scared either.
I'm not sure it's trying to scare you. I think it's interesting. I also feel disappointed. I feel disappointed similarly to my disappointment in Baby Girl, that the potential seems so high and it's kind of fizzled.
I liked it more than you.
I think it's so interesting, but it fizzles out,
Well, I liked it, but I think it feels thin to me.
Yes.
Yeah, so there are areas where you think it could have been richer. Not the least visually, actually, because I do think that it's interesting. The film gets so caught up in its chosen style. Yeah, that point of view, wide angle, slightly fisheye lens, long take, right? And it definitely creates a look for the film and a feel for the film, but it's overly consistent. There's no variation, right? And it becomes a problem when that point of view is the point of view of something unknown and unknowable and kind of amorphous, right? Like, if that point of view had a strong identity, if you knew who the ghost was and what had happened or what could happen, but actually you just know that it's the point of view of some ghostly presence that's quite evanescent and so on. So I think that to me is a problem with the film.
So that's something that I really liked about it. It starts off with this mysterious point of view, that you are in the point of view and you are the ghost. You're looking out on, from the house. You never leave the house, and you're kind of rushing round it with this. Like I said, it seems to essentially be Steadicam, but there's something so fluid about that movement that gives it this slightly more ethereal feel than it's floaty in a way that it might otherwise not be. And the film does explore, as it goes on, the quote-unquote personality of the presence, or, kind of what it thinks, what it's like. So one of the things that's surprising, we're getting to spoiler territory now. One of the things that's surprising is that it seeks to protect the family, right? That's one of the things that set up the film in the trailers, or, one of the ideas seemed to be it's not just a ghost movie, but a horror movie, right? This will be a malevolent presence. And as the film transpires, you realise it's not malevolent. It particularly has a relationship with the daughter, who has, consents it to some extent. The first kind of telekinetic movement that it performs is tidying up her room, right? It's like making a connection kind of thing, and then it protects her when the kid tries to drug her. So the film is asking you, what does this thing actually want? What is it like? And how does it feel? That is interesting.
Well, I think it's interesting, but I don't think it's well developed, because the film leads you on. So, at the beginning, you're actually not sure whether it's a malevolent presence or not.
Exactly.
Right? It's just a presence. And then the film leads you to believe that the presence might be that girl who died of an overdose, who is the daughter's best friend.
Yeah.
Right? And then by the end it's revealed to be something else. But the thing is that you don't know very much about that girl. All you're seeing is the ghost's point of view, but that point of view is an unfleshed one, literally and metaphorically. right? So the film has kind of like this odd dissonance where you're finding out things about the family and about the characters and how they interrelate with each other, but in a kind of happenstance way. Yeah, that you fall into it. Really, they are not the main protagonists of the story, though they are, because they are the people we know things about, whereas the ghosts we know very little about.
But I think I think they are. It is a film about them. It's from the point of view of this other character that is a character. But I don't think the ghost is the main character, despite the fact we're we're in it. We are it.
Yes, well, the main character is the girl, really.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking about it. I was thinking about every scene from the point of view of a regular horror movie. So because it plays those scenes of the ghost is moving stuff, the ghost knocks a glass off a thing, the ghost makes shit rumble, makes the lights flicker, and you've seen that in 1,000 horror movies where people rush in and go, "Oh my god, shit's going off! A poltergeist here," and it's a slight amusement to see it from the inside, as it were. But when you think about those other horror movies, you'll often get to the point where they work out what the ghost is and that it has some unfinished business, or that it was the ghost of the person who used to live here, whatever, that kind of thing. But how much, like, you never actually get a relationship with that ghost. It's always just, and we figured out, it is some small detail like that. It is some sketch as to what the ghost was.
This is the whole film told from the point of view of the ghost. I think you need to know more.
No, I don't. I do.
I think you want to know more. And I think the film would have worked better and been more suspenseful had you known more, because then it could play with those knowledges rather than have this really neat thing about making you think something and then revealing that it's something else. Yeah.
That's not the issue that I had with it. I thought the question of who the ghost is or what the ghost is and that kind of thing is not the main concern of the film. And
I disagree, actually. Let me insist on that. I think it's central, really. It's completely central once it's revealed who it is, right? Because the whole film is about this family. The mother is completely obsessed with the son. The son hates the sister and is very unsympathetic with her. Kind of the father kind of tries to pay attention to the daughter who suffered this trauma, right? So it's all about these family dynamics. And then kind of it's revealed that the brother, who had been kind of, so much the problem in his family, is actually the person who rescues his sister and who gives up his life for his sister. So actually, it's very important who that.
Yeah, and it might be interesting to watch it on a second go round to see how that plays out. Because the thing is that, so this ghost is essentially revealed to be the spirit of the brother who dies in saving his sister at the end. So there's a kind of time thing going on, and the one character who comes in, you always get the expert who knows what they're talking about, and we have a version of that here. And she says time doesn't work for this the way it works for you.
Yeah, so it's about things that haven't yet happened.
Yeah, past and present might be the same.
She reappears and says something will happen through that window.
Yeah, a window that doesn't happen. And that plays out, right? Past and present are intermingling. It turns out for this ghost, because it is active before its own death happens in real life, as it were. So yeah, I mean, I do think I'm interested to see it again from that perspective, knowing what the reveal is and seeing how that plays into all the scenes. But it wasn't a pressing concern throughout. I was perfectly happy with the possibility. I thought it was a probability that. I mean, I know you wouldn't have predicted the ghost would be one of the family members. You would have predicted the ghost would be just a ghost in the house,
or one of the girls was murdered,
or one of the girls. Yeah. So because that's just a very normal. There's just a ghost in the house, whatever, and it's something else. So that was never a concern to me, and I didn't feel disappointed by that. What I felt disappointed by, and I wasn't disappointed by the lack of scares. I thought this is just so interesting and so compelling.
Yeah, it was eerie and interesting.
And I like seeing this family in these kind of snatches. It's what you get. They're sketches as well in a sense, but like. The film is told through a series of long takes. There isn't a single cut in the film.
Yes.
It's or not one cut from one shot to another. You'll cut to black, pause, and then start a new shot. And you do get these jumps through time doing that. The film is just picking up on the next thing it finds interesting, or the next thing it needs to tell you. And a lot of it is these snatches of, you know, family conversation, a bit of drama in the family. The kids don't like each other. The dad thinks that the mum is up to something illegal at work and he's worried about himself, which I felt a little disappointed by, just because maybe that could have, that seemed to go nowhere. You know?
Oh, no, I like that.
I didn't hate it. But...
And I like that in terms of making the relationship between the parents complex, because, you know, they clearly love each other. There's a power imbalance. She's clearly the most successful, he thinks. I always thought she was out of my league and something, you know, and I always let her take charge, right? And she's involved in kind of, you know, criminal activities, and, you know, he thinks about separating, but then he chooses not to. I mean, you know, that's quite a lot of interesting stuff in...
For sure.
You know.
I was interested in it.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's not a major issue that I think that kind of sort of dies a little bit.
It's unusual. It turns the tables, and it has layers. I liked it.
Yeah, for sure. And I liked basically the entire portrayal of the family and the family life and the dynamics. It feels really real and really kind of authentically observed. Like these are relationships that you felt in your family. You know, particularly the hatred of brother and sister.
I would have liked some clue that the brother was fonder of the sister than the narrative allows you to see. You never once get... I mean, you get a sense of her fondness for him, or, yeah, kind of, but not the other way around. He's always nasty to her, right? And you can see, like, kind of teenagers often being nasty to each other, but then you also see moments of affection, or care, or thought, like, you know, or body language, right?
He maybe only realised it in death that he needed to be nice to her. And that's why the ghost was.
Well, too late, baby.
I know. But then he paid the price because he died for her, you know?
Yeah.
If he'd been nicer when he was alive, he wouldn't have had to die.
Well, but but it also seems to come out of nowhere.
Yeah, I know what you mean. But my fundamental disappointment was with the villain character. I think he's really poorly played. I mean, I don't want to be mean to the guy, but I just didn't think he was great at it. He felt quite sort of stage schooly. Like, the first kind of monologue, well, it's a bit of a monologue that he gets when he's sitting on the bed with the daughter, and he talks about his own sort of frustrations or whatever with his life, was performed in a way that just felt very audition-y, you know?
I know what you mean.
So I just wasn't crazy about his performance.
I liked the character, though.
Well...
I did. I liked, you know, it's kind of like the satirical kind of, you know, nice, gentle boy who ends up being the date rapist.
Yeah, well, date rapist and serial murderer.
And serial murderer,
He reveals...
Which I kind of...
That he's done it twice before, and the other two girls who've died, one of whom was her best friend.
I liked, because it's the kind of film, you know, that would make all the MAGA people go crazy.
It was a little too silly, I thought, a little too schlocky. It wasn't the right film for it.
No, I liked it, but I agree that the problem is in the playing. And actually, you have a sense that the filmmakers also had a problem with the playing, because so much of the most important bits of that character are played with the camera on his back or on the top of his head, or as his hair is covering his face. Yeah, you see so very little of his face as he's doing all that he's doing, right? So, yeah, it's a problem.
Yeah. I don't know, but I just think there was something that... the thing is, the idea of the film is so compelling. And then the way it's shot and the way the story's being told, for most of it, is so compelling. And then I end up thinking, oh, couldn't you have found a better story to be telling within this form than this, you know, this date rape murderer kid?
No, I mean, I don't mind that.
Yeah.
Because, you know, it's been very much in the news, like in every way, right? You know, this date rape drugs being quite a considerable social problem, right? Then this kind of hidden misogyny in teenage boys. I mean, you know, that was one of the things that we saw at Warwick, right? All these ostensibly really nice people with their girlfriends and so on, and then on the message boards being absolute, like, nightmare kind of, wannabe rapists. And of course, it's kind of in tune with this moment of all of these disaffected kind of young men,
Well, this
voting
kid
for Trump.
is the opposite of disaffected. This kid is not a loner. He's one of the most popular kids at school. And he's sleeping with her.
No, but he's got this whole monologue about control and pretending to give up control, but he can take it back anytime he wants.
So he can feel the way he wants. But if we're talking about it as something that reflects real social issues...
I think it reflects real social issues.
Well, not as much as...
I mean, look, all of these young men who are disaffected with their own society, it's not because they lack power, right?
Right.
It's because they want more. They want control over women, right?
Okay, well, so are we relating it to, like the CEO class, or are we relating it to the incel class?
Well, I'm not relating it neither to the CEO class nor to the incel class. I'm relating it to a Joe Rogan listener, like, an average kind of, normal kind of, heterosexual guy who feels that somehow society has removed power and possibilities from him, when in fact, he's got more power than any other kind of relevant social group or gender, right? But, so disaffected in that sense, right? And, I mean, those are the people who voted for Trump. It's not people who didn't have any power. Yeah. It's not the incels, right? But it is those. As well, but it is those people who want masculine energy back. Like Zuckerman says. Zuckerberg.
Well, yeah, I mean, I see that, and I don't think it's good enough.
Basically. Well, no, it's not. I mean, it's not good enough, and I think it's a shame. Because, the film has so many interesting things going for it.
Yeah.
And then it all feels too pat, right? So, the father loves the daughter, the mother loves the son. Like, it just feels too pat, really. The mother is the go-getter. The husband is like the sweet guy, sensitive. Yeah, I mean, it's just all these kinds of structural oppositions are just, too neat and too unidimensional. Mm-hmm. Right. And I also felt that way, to be honest, about the film's style. Because, it becomes like an exercise in style. And on a surface level, it's successful. I like seeing it. But then you have all of the problems of sticking to those parameters.
So what do you think those problems are?
Well, you mentioned one of them, right? Because it's always from the ghost point of view. And because it's that kind of wide, fish-eyed kind of lens, yeah? You never see into people's faces.
I didn't say that.
No, I'm saying that.
Okay, you said I said it.
Well, you mentioned kind of the lack of close-ups or something, or the film doesn't cut.
Oh, it doesn't cut, yeah.
So that restriction, which is a restriction to open up an avenue in relation to style, is also a restriction in terms of meaning and feeling and texture and depth. Right, kind of.
You do get the feeling that the camera is very often manoeuvring itself into somewhere, it like to get the shot, as opposed to express the character behind, what he wants to see.
Exactly.
Because I think the best moments for the camera are those where it's looking out the windows. This happens quite a lot right at the start in particular, but like when it's looking out windows at stuff going on outside, it feels like a cat. It's curious. And like I really felt a sense of personality and embodiment behind the camera. And then when it gets into long scenes inside the house and it's moving from one room to another, it's following characters as they go around certain places, it does lose a sense of personality because it is just it's having to follow characters in order to tell the story as opposed to express itself. The other really good moments for the camera are those where it's noticed by characters. So it particularly happens with the daughter. She sees it and she looks down the barrel for a minute, and she's looking at you, and then you move out of the way, and she's still looking where she was because she doesn't know you've moved. Then she looks again, and you get this interaction between character and camera that I really enjoyed. And when that ghost lady comes in, who knows ghosts, she's down the barrel the whole time. She knows where you are.
I liked her, but also the film is very inconsistent. So on the one hand, it's following all these rules, which to me are not as important, very, very closely. And then it ignores other rules, which I think for an audience are much more important. If this is a ghost who can make a glass fall, who can bring a whole closet down, why can't he bang the rapist over the head, or removes a little bit of plastic from the girl's lips.
Yeah. Or why is it letting, once we've seen it protect her from getting drugged once, why is it letting it happen the second time?
Exactly.
I know what you mean. I was thinking...
So I think all of that is very unsatisfactory. So I liked it, and I was immersed in it, and I was definitely not bored, and I appreciated the exercise in style. And actually, I really appreciate that, this is a major filmmaker taking really quite a lot of stylistic chances on a very low budget and experimenting and so on. So, I like the try.
Yeah.
But I think it's a failed one, really.
Yeah, well, it has failures and it has successes. I think, I suppose one of the things about setting yourself these parameters is you kind of live and die by them, don't you? And that's what an experiment is. Can we tell a story like this? What kind of story can we tell like this? And the successes are fundamentally the look and feel of it, and the idea that they have managed to make this, which is a fascinating idea. And then the failures are, well, it could have been better here, there, and everywhere.
And actually, just to reiterate, I think your point about the casting is, for me, a really important thing. And that might have had to do with the restrictions of the budgets. Because actually, I love Lucy Liu anyway. Though actually, I found her difficult to relate to in this. And actually kind of even difficult to recognize. I didn't recognize her as kind of Lucy Liu for quite a long time. But the only person who had any warmth and who you cared about, or who exuded a kind of humanity, was the husband and
the daughter.
No.
Oh.
And the poltergeist, the lady.
Oh really? Oh, you think so? So the dad's played by Chris Sullivan, who I was just saying I recognise from one episode of Curb Your Enthusiasm, I think, and despite the fact he's got a lot of credits, and I liked him. And the lady is Natalie Williams-Torres.
Anyway,
yeah,
she exuded warmth.
Yeah.
She felt like a person, right? Whereas I thought, the teenagers were like unidimensional, kind of badly acted, and they just kind of didn't feel like people really. And the same is true for Lucy Liu, though I think that is more with the way that it's the characters depicted, which is in a way very stereotypical of Asian people, right? What do they call it? Like dragon lady, helicopter parent,
tiger
blah,
mom.
blah. Yeah, she fulfills all of those stereotypes really, and she didn't overcome them, as an actor. Well, she didn't get given many chances because the camera's always so far away from her, right? With that wide angle kind of fisheye thing. So all of that was kind of unsatisfactory. But I suppose the only reason why I'm saying it's so unsatisfactory is because I wanted it to be more satisfying than it is. I actually enjoyed watching it very much.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I was having a really good time during it, and then it's right at the end when you realise that's kind of all it is, and that's where it's gone with it, and that was a disappointment to me. I was not disappointed that it wasn't scary. I wasn't disappointed that it wasn't doing X, Y, Z, because I thought, I don't care. I want to see what it wants to do, I was very confused. I remain confused by all those quotes in the trailer saying how fucking scary it is, because it's just not. I don't know what they're seeing in it.
Well, I don't remember seeing them, or I wasn't paying attention or whatever. I didn't go. I mean, as you know, I didn't even know what the title of the film was after we had finished seeing it, much less before. So
that is your particular foible in this world.
Well, I like watching going into films blind. You know?
No. But we had seen the trailer so many times.
Yeah, well.
But every time I mentioned it to you, you went, "What's that?" And I said, "It's the thing with where he shows the film from the perspective of the ghost." And you went, "Oh yeah, that one."
Yeah.
So that's how aware you were of it.
Yes.
Anyway, yeah. So I kind of recommend it. It's an interesting experiment to see, but that is kind of all it is.
Yes.
And that's where the interest is limited, I think.
Yeah, I agree. So thank you very much for listening. We are eavesdropping at the movies, and we are on
Apple Podcasts, Audible, Spotify, SoundCloud, YouTube, and YouTube Music. On social media, we're on Facebook and Twitter at Eavesdrop Movies, and Blue Sky, eavesdropping.bsky.social, and the website is eavesdroppingatthemovies.com.
Thank you very much for listening.
Bye-bye.